Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox, and David, it's been a long time coming for this one, man. We've talked about this for a long time. Robert Hall has joined us tonight. Robert, it's great to see you, buddy.
Good to see y'all.
Yes, sir. Robert is a former Tennessee Temple baseball player as well with us, a teammate of ours for 4 years. So we're going to get into talking to Robert here later on in the show about his career, the Braves as well, since he is a Braves fan. Pretty much everybody we played with is a Braves fan. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to have you on, man, and thanks so much for coming on for sure, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going to be great.
So, David, man, here we go. This is fast and furious. This has been absolutely nuts. We've taken a couple weeks off here. So we've got a lot to catch up on, man. And so first off, and I'm kind of baffled a little bit by your Yankees a little bit here. Not much going on in the Yankee front with all this flurry going on. And I wanted to start here just with you. Though a couple things that did happen is nothing but a bunch of losses. So why don't you talk about the losses of Rougned Odor, Tyler Wade, and Clint Frazier?
So I wasn't really surprised by Clint Frazier. Yankees are going to have to pay him close to $3 million. That's just been a mess. I don't really know what the situation is. Supposedly there's some concussion problems. I think the Yankees were just done with that. So that one didn't surprise me at all. Rougned Odor did surprise me a little bit, only because the Yankees weren't paying him anything. And he is a left-handed bat, can play a couple different positions. So that one I was mildly surprised by. But the one that kind of caught me off guard was Tyler Wade, only because he was super cheap. He literally can play anywhere on the field, and he hits when he gets regular playing time. So that one kind of surprised me. It didn't. I think he was going to projected to make about $700,000. So that's chump change. But that one surprised me. But the rest of it, not really surprised.
So, David, since they've lost these guys and they haven't done anything yet, what are you thinking that they're going to do? Any names out there that you really think that they're connected to that may join the team soon?
Well, the one that surprised me today, and I know I'm getting ahead of the game here, I really thought the Yankees were going to go all in after Corey Seager. And he signed with the Rangers today. I don't really blame him for bailing. $325 million for a guy that hits about 20 homers a year. That's just a lot of money, man. So shortstop is still the big hole. I don't really know what's going to happen. There's rumors now that Andrelton Simmons is in play. I hate that idea. The Yankees, like I said before, they've got to find a shortstop, a center fielder, and somehow get a little bit more athletic. So Starlin Marte was supposedly in the mix. I didn't love that either because he's so old. So I think the Yankees are going to try to address all this through trade, if I was guessing.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the way a lot of these teams are going to have to go with all these guys that are completely signing out of everywhere. And there's going to be a lot more going into tomorrow, too. There's going to be a lot of signings tomorrow as well before they lock out on December 1st. So it's going to be crazy to see everything that goes down tomorrow as well. It's been a fun day for sure. Today
DJ,
as well.
I've got to bring up a point here before you move forward. So there is another team that hasn't done anything and have not been mentioned in any rumors that I've read about. Not one. Now, they did make the one move for Wade Miley. We can talk about that later, but I want to hear your Cubs rant before we move on.
Yeah, so here we go. I'm looking through all the MLB updates and all the signings, and I'm not kidding you. The headline for the Cubs, there was a Cubs emblem there. I'm like, oh, they did something. It was Nico Horner having a great Thanksgiving. All these teams are signing all these deals, and Nico Horner's having a good Thanksgiving. So, hey, joy to him in the holiday season. It's great that Nico's having I'm baffled, man. You got a new GM. Like, what are you doing? Like, let's go, man. Like, nothing has happened on this front. I haven't heard any rumors of anybody coming here. I heard one little rumor about Corey and Kyle Seager coming. That obviously isn't happening. But I don't know what they're doing. It's definitely disappointing. And Robert, here's one place I want you to come in. So back in 2016, when the Cubs won it all, about 5 years ago to the day, Who was the first person that you thought of when that happened, buddy?
It was you. I sat there that night and watched that game, that last game, and I thought, wow, DJ has finally made it. He has seen one in his lifetime. And then and I thought, man, like everybody else, that was kind of the beginning of maybe a small dynasty or maybe at least one more. And, they'd get out of that group, but they just didn't.
Robert, just so you know, since 2016, DJ has been living in the land of unicorns and fairies. And so this whole past year has been hilarious. It's been the best year of my life, even though the Yankees didn't really do much. DJ swore up and down their Cubs weren't going to tear it down, and they did, including this guy right here. Rizzo comes to the Yankees. It was so awesome. He wouldn't even respond to a text or a call that day. And then, so now the new thing was all these guys that the Cubs were going to sign, only to find out not going to happen. So my great season has turned into a great offseason so far.
Wasn't it Howard that used to say the Cubs were just a AAA team for the Yankees?
Yeah. Well, it kind of turned out that way. And like I said, that one World Series win turned DJ like completely delusional. They weren't going to trade Chris Bryant. They weren't going to trade Rizzo. There was no way, and it all went down for me this year. So it was really awesome.
Well, it's kind of nice because all the former Cub players are the big names out there that still haven't signed. So maybe that's what we're doing, David. Bringing them all back. Come on back, Schwarber, Rizzo, Baez, Bryant. Let's have a nice homecoming here coming up. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. So they did do one thing. They signed Wade Miley to be the number 2 starter behind Kyle Hendricks. Adbert Alzolay, Alec Mills, and Justin Steele are penciled in 3 through 5. And Braylon Marquez should come up this year and be a possible starter as well. So
never heard of them.
Well, you probably haven't because they used 147 players this year. So broke his record to have as many players as they used. So these prospects and all these players that came up this year, I couldn't even keep track of them all. So Miley has a 97-92 career record, a 4.15 ERA. Last year was 12-7 with a 3.37. In 2018, he had a 2.57 ERA, and in 2019 he went 14-6 with a 3.98 ERA. So a good signing by them, no doubt. It's a good place to start, but that was 2 weeks ago, man. So I guess the only other thing they did do too, David, is they signed Harold Ramirez. They traded him from the, I can't say Indians anymore, it's the Guardians now. They made that trade. So here comes Harold Ramirez into the mix as like a 5th outfielder. So we've got a number 2 starter and a 5th outfielder going on right now. So not a very good start to the offseason. We are rumored to be in on Kevin Kiermaier, which would automatically be my favorite player on the Cubs. Just my kind of player. I love that guy. But if that's all we do this offseason, then we're in deep trouble. So all the former boys are coming back, David. I'm convinced of it. And it's going to be happy land and a joyous reunion in Chicago, buddy.
Nah.
All right, so let's move on here. So Justin Verlander, a.k.a. Kate Upton, has decided that she's going to stay in Houston. She's not going anywhere. She forced her husband to stay in with the Astros. So why did she decide to stay in Texas, David?
That one kind of surprised me a little bit, to be honest. 2 years and $50 million for a guy that has thrown 6 innings in the last 2 years. So what a great time to be a pitcher. I'm not surprised that he stayed with the Astros necessarily. Just the money, man, is kind of crazy. But, yeah, I mean, I guess it's good work if you can get it. You're married to Kate Upton. You live in Texas, and you just got paid $50 million after pitching 6 innings. So good for him, I guess, is all I can say. I do think Verlander is a stud. And, I was kind of pulling for him to the Yankees. That's who he was rumored to. But I was 1 year. The 2 years and 50 was a big shocker.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be well into his 40s here, and we're going to talk about an old pitcher who got a lot of money here soon, too. It's like it's a great time to be a pitcher, David, and it's unbelievable. So they get McCullers back next year, too. So this rotation, all of a sudden, with guys like Framber and Luis Garcia and Urquidy, they got a top 5 that's pretty solid there. The Astros are not going anywhere. They're going to lose Carlos Correa, which is going to be a big shot to that offense. But man, they're still the well is still very full there in Houston, and they're going to be a good team next year as well. So, David, Byron Buxton just got a 7-year, $100 million contract to stay in Minnesota. Now, let me tell you something, man. He's a career 248 hitter with 70 bombs and 204 RBI in 7 seasons. So the offense has never been there. And those numbers I looked up, I was kind of shocked. But here's the problem, David. Buxton cannot stay on the field. In his 7 seasons, I'm going to read you his games played, and this is kind of crazy. 46, 92, 140, career high, 28, 87, 39, and 61 games played. That is not even 100 games played in any of those seasons except for one of them. So they're taking a big risk on a guy who can't stay on the field. I do think it's a good contract as far as the money. $100 million. I mean, here we are throwing $100 million down like it's nothing, but 7 years for Buxton at $100 million. So honestly, from 1984 until now, you've had Kirby Puckett, you've had Torrey Hunter, and Byron Buxton out in center field. You cannot hit a ball to center field in Minnesota without it getting caught. Defensive stalwarts. That's kind of what they've done out there for years. So what do you think of the Buxton signing?
I think it was a great sign, to be honest with you. Buxton kind of found it this year with the bat. If he can continue that, that forward with as good as his defense is, I mean, $100 million, obviously, we've seen it this week, doesn't buy you a whole lot anymore, it doesn't seem like. So, man, I think it's a great deal, personally.
I think it is, too. They definitely locked him up. There was a lot of rumors that this trade deadline that they were going to ship him off. So they did lock him up and want to build around him. You know what, man? The Twins, they're not that far away from it. They had a horrible year, no doubt, but I really believe that this team could do a couple moves, pick up a couple guys, and be right back in it. They're not that far off. So, Robert, we're going to move on to a different team here, and I want the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the New York Mets.
Adam Eshaw was a big Mets fan, wasn't he?
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yes, sir. So,
I thought he was.
Yep, you got it, man. So, Mishaw's Mets, here we go. They have made some noise here, David, and I kind of want your opinion on this a little bit. Mark Canha, Starling Marte, Eduardo Escobar offensively. And then now they have lost Noah Syndergaard and have picked up Max Scherzer to a 3-year, $150 million contract, $43 million annually, which is the largest contract in MLB history. $43 million. He literally makes more money than the Orioles and more money than the Pirates roster, which is crazy. Robert, are you kidding me? One player makes more money than 2 teams in this league. What do you?
I'd like to know the breakdown on that. I'd like to know the breakdown on that, like, how much he getting paid for innings pitched. And, I know a lot of times people break down, at bats and stuff for, defensive position players. But, man, that I saw that today, and I thought, wow, I need to teach Luke how to pitch.
Definitely, man.
Good night.
That's got that right. That is a ton of money. And, David, what are your thoughts about what the Mets are doing? They were mad about Steven Matz not signing with them. They make a big splash with Scherzer. They get the 3 outfielders. What are your thoughts?
Well, I hate to pour cold water on Scherzer, but I have to do it because it reminds me of several years back when the Yankees signed Randy Johnson. Do you guys remember this? Johnson was in his late 30s, just like Scherzer. He's kind of a weird personality, just like Scherzer, and didn't really want to be in New York, just like Scherzer. And so I have a feeling that this could end really bad. And Scherzer's like my favorite pitcher ever. I'm not kidding. I love him. But this is square peg and round hole for me. So I think this one could come back and bite him big time. Having said that, if it works out, man, having him and DeGrom as your 1 and 2, and you still got Carrasco, you still got, I can't think of that dude's name.
Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker. You got a couple rookies there in the back end of the rotation. Man, it could be nasty. As far as the other signings that they did, I did not understand the Escobar signing, DJ, it seems redundant to me. You already have Jeff McNeil that kind of does the same thing. You already have a third baseman, J.D. Davis. So I really didn't understand I don't know, maybe you heard what the thinking with the Eduardo Escobar signing was.
I'm really not sure what they're doing there, and I'm with you 100% on what they're trying to piece together here. The one thing I was thinking on that is that the DH is coming to the National League for sure.
I hadn't thought about that.
So that's going to happen in this collective bargaining agreement. It's going to come out that the DH is going to come with the NL. So now you've got that piece to use in that slot as well, and then you can stick everybody versatile. But here's the thing, David. Now, they're not done by any means, I don't think. But you lost Conforto and you lost Syndergaard. You replaced them with these three guys and Scherzer. Are you really that much better right now? I mean, it's debatable. It's debatable.
No. Syndergaard didn't even pitch last year.
But Syndergaard's a stud, man. If he's on, he's going to be really good. And Scherzer's, 42 years old? How old is he? Like, he's seriously 37, okay.
Had an ERA like 2.37 last year, which Syndergaard's never even been within a run. There's no doubt on paper they've gotten a lot better. Conforto, I really like Conforto. Somebody's going to get a steal there, but he had played out. He was horrible last year. Trust me, as a guy who picked him up like 4 times in fantasy, every time he would get hot, I would pick him up. They definitely got better. Starling Marte is a lot better center fielder than Kevin Pillar or whoever else they had in center field last year. So there's no doubt that they got better. It's just some of it I just don't understand. Like Mark Canha, I don't understand really where he's going to play. Like I said, they got the DH. Maybe they are just going to kind of rotate guys around. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird. I would just like to hear, like I said, a little more explanation on what they're doing.
Weird is a good word to describe the Mets. They still don't have a manager. They're plugging along with a new GM here who obviously signed along and started making moves right away, unlike a certain team in Chicago. But we'll move along, man, from the Mets here. So Avisail Garcia, in a minor move, moves to the Marlins. Didn't really understand that. Weird as well. I didn't really get that one either. The Marlins are just making moves, kind of just make moves. They want to make a couple moves and then beyond. They're locking up that young pitching, so that's kind of smart on their end because they've got some young studs. But I agree with you, David. That was a weird move. And moving on to the next one. So, Robert, Wander Franco, who was a rookie this year for the Rays, just signed an 11-year, $182 million deal after a rookie season. Great to be a rookie, huh?
Yeah, right.
It's unbelievable, man. So 288 batting average, 7 home runs in his rookie season. He is the number 1 prospect in baseball. He had an awesome streak there where he got on base this whole season, was a runner-up for Rookie of the Year in the American League. So there's no doubt whatsoever that he's an absolute stud. And the Rays spent some money, David, and they're not really notorious for doing that. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was very smart. Honestly, from Franco's standpoint, I think he probably left a bunch of money on the table. One more good season, and, I think he could have got more out of him. But it's a smart move by the Rays as usual. Obviously, Franco's looks like he's going to be the real deal, about like Fernando Tatis. So I thought it was pretty smart on their part.
So Kendall Graveman to the White Sox, David. What'd you think of that one?
The rich just got rid. The best team in Chicago just got a little bit better, DJ. I thought Graveman signed pretty cheap. I mean, did you guys think that?
Yes.
I think $8 million is what he signed for. I mean, I know he's only had the one good year, which was last year, but he was dominant. So I love that signing personally. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but think Craig Kimbrell's on the way out, though. What do you think, David? Do you think they're going to keep him too? Do you think do you think he's gone?
It's a super pin, man. No, they're going to keep him.
Keeping him?
I think it's going to be the super pin.
Okay. Kopech goes to full-time starter, which needs to happen, right?
It should happen. That should have really happened last year. That's the one place I really disagreed, with Tony La Russa last year. So I would think Kopech would go in the rotation to replace Rodon. But I don't know. They seem to like him in that swing role.
The Seattle Mariners are making some noise, boys. Adam Frazier gets traded from the Padres to the Mariners, and he was not a good fit with San Diego, which is really weird to think, David. When they added him, we were like, oh, my goodness. like the rich just get richer, and it never really fit well for the Padres. And he's now a Mariner. And the Mariners also have signed Robbie Ray to a deal, David. And this team is looking to get better off of an awesome 90-win season last year, where they were that close to making the playoffs. So, man, what do you think of the Mariners? They're also rumored big time on Chris Bryant. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the Ray deal. Adam Frazier, on further inspection, I don't know that moves the needle that much, to be honest with you. Like when he got traded to the Padres, I thought, wow. But then when you go back and look at his career stats, he's been pretty average other than maybe a year. So they didn't give anything for him, so it can't hurt. But I wouldn't put too much weight in that, just to be honest with you.
So Noah Syndergaard to the Angels. Can he stay healthy? He gets a 1-year, $21 million deal, rejects a qualifying offer of $18 million to stay with New York. He gets $3 million more by going to the Angels. They have a 6-man rotation. They're not shy about this. Ohtani, Syndergaard, 1 and 2. Then he gets shaky a little bit with Patrick Sandoval, Jose Suarez, Jamie Burria, Reed Detmers. So the Angels still have some work to do, David. The Angels spent their 2021 draft, the entire draft, on pitchers. You were the one that told me about that. You told me that stat. That's unbelievable. Every single draft pick was a pitcher. They've also signed Michael Lorenzen to be their 4th starter and another 2-way player in the Angels rotation there. So what are your thoughts about those guys, David, as far as them getting those 2 pitchers?
I don't know, man. For some reason, I don't believe in Thor. I know that's the unpopular opinion, but I said it last year. I just don't believe for some reason. I don't know. I mean, $20 million for him just seems like a lot to me. Michael Lorenzen, I do love him. And at $7 million, I think that might be money well spent. But I just think that's a lot of money for Thor personally.
I agree, man. And so the Angels are making a little bit of noise trying to get a team to build around Mike Trout, Mike Trout has the same body type as you, man. You're both like outfielders and you're both linebackers. So you and Mike Trout are like the same guy, man. It's crazy to think. You see Robert running, you see Trout running, it's the same thing.
I think he's about twice my size, though. Maybe 3 times.
So, Robert, I do want to get your thoughts, too, a little bit since we're on the Angels right now. What did you think of Shohei Ohtani, what he was able to do on the mound and with the bat this year in his MVP season? We've never seen anything like this. So what were your thoughts on that?
I did get to catch, a little bit of that, and it was freakish. I mean, you got a guy who's just, hitting bombs and pitching. I guess in my lifetime or I don't remember anybody doing anything like that. Do you have to go back to someone like Babe Ruth who hit home runs and pitched and, everything else? It's neat to see. I mean, gosh, I don't know who else. I know y'all were talking about who else was going to be the MVP. Gosh, I don't know who else would have deserved it. I mean, when you got a guy who can do all that, I mean, it seems like the Angels all the time, have an MVP, but they don't ever seem to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, is it the best? Is the MVP the best player on the best team, or is it the guy who actually means the most to his team? That argument's in every sport, I guess. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch. I mean, it's something to see. You got a guy who, normally, you watch ball games and pitchers up and it's like, well, this will be interesting. And, for all the bad reasons, but not with him, it's fun to watch.
It certainly was, man. And Trout and Ohtani and Rendon are just absolute studs, man. So they just got to do something. They got to keep spending money. They got to keep adding to this team. So on to the Blue Jays, David, and the Yankees should be a little fearful, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Jose Barrios is locked up to a 7-year. Oh, don't shake your head at me. 7-year, $131 million contract. So the trade makes sense now that they're going to actually lock him up, giving up a top prospect to the Twins. So that deal ended up being good for the Blue Jays. They need to keep Robbie Ray. Well, that was on my notes. That didn't happen. So on they went, David. to Kevin Gausman, who signs with them as well, man. They've got a nasty rotation. You just lost a Cy Young guy and Robbie Ray, who isn't really consistent in his career, been up and down. So we'll see if he can continue that on with the Mariners now. But you got Barrios, you got Ryu, Alec Manoah. You got to say that one for me. I always slaughter that one. Manoah. Yep. Ross Stripling and Nate Pearson, one of the top prospects in the game, to go with Kevin Gausman. So their rotation is loaded, David. Don't you shake
No.
It is absolutely.
Did you just say they're loaded and include Ross Stripling? And have you looked at Nate Pearson's stats the last 2 years? Come on, man.
Nate Pearson's going to find it, man. He is fine. He just kind of.
Well, he might find it, but you can't base it on the last 2 years. He's been horrible. Absolutely horrible. And by the way, here's my Blue Jays hate. They lost 45 home runs in their team, one of their team MVPs last year. Is Kevin Biggio still going to do it out there at second base? Nah. So I still think the Blue Jays are going to be good. Fool's gold right now.
Well, Kevin Biggio is back full time, and so is George Springer. And they didn't have either of those guys last year. And look what
Kevin Biggio has been horrible for like 3 years. Trust me, as the guy who drafted him and kept him around all last year, horrible.
He did have a down year, but he was battling injuries the entire season. This kid can play.
Unicorns and fairies, Robert. Unicorns and fairies. DJ is living in the land of unicorns and fairies.
Well, they will win this division, Robert, and the Yankees will be looking up at them when the 2022 season is over. So, Blue Jays.
Hey, what are the Red Sox doing, by the way? Let's just shift away from the Blue Jays. Michael Wacha, ever heard of him?
What, he gets $7 million for 1 year to get Michael Wacha?
I was so confused. I mean, the guy had a 5.70 ERA last year, and he's making $7 million this year. What is going on right now?
I have no clue. That is a weird deal, and that's what I think Boston's done so far. So I shake my head at that. They're rumored in on Chris Taylor, which would be another Kike Hernandez for them, which would be an awesome signing. But that's weird. Boston isn't doing very much either. Steven Matz, 4-year deal to the Cardinals to be their number 3 starter behind Wainwright and Flaherty. Matz had a good season with the Blue Jays in 2021, 14-7 with a 3.82 ERA. However, he was average at best with the Mets before 2021, where he had a career 45-48 record. So once again, it's an awesome time to be a pitcher. He gets $48 million for 4 years, and he's not even hardly a winning pitcher. So I look forward to the Cubs rocking him for the next 4 years. David, what are your thoughts on Matz?
Man, Matt should have waited one more week. I feel like he's the one guy who left probably like $20 million on the table, seriously. And again, you're not counting the Blue Jays losing Matz. I mean, he was a big part of that team last year, and he's gone now. So another reason why they'll be about 7 wins less than they were last year.
So, David, I might need to switch to this team right here.
You do need to, for sure. They spent just today more than the Cubs' whole payroll.
They literally spent $500 million today, Robert. $500 million to go with that huge ballpark they just built. They're trying to put fans in the seats. Marcus Semien gets a 7-year deal. They don't know what they're going to do with him and Kiner Falefa, who's going to play short. Well, they obviously figured out who's going to play short right away by going and getting Corey Seager to a 10-year, 300 and what? What did he get? 300 million? 250?
325.
Oh my goodness, man. So they are just absolutely loaded now on that infield. I wouldn't say the outfield, obviously. They got a stud out there in Garcia, but their offense has improved significantly in the last couple of days. They were rumored to be in on Trevor Story, too. Obviously, that isn't going to happen anymore. They're rumored on Clayton Kershaw. They also signed Cole Calhoun, who will play right field for them, to replace Joey Gallo. John Gray got signed by them, who will automatically be their number 1 if you don't count Dave Dunning. I don't know which one of them is going to be the top guy there. Their rotation's a little shaky at best, if you ask me.
They need Kershaw.
They do need Kershaw. I agree. That'd be a great signing for them. They also traded to the Dodgers for Billy McKinney, who's penciled in right now as their left fielder. So a small move. He's a starter for them right now. That's what they got on their page there. That's he's the left fielder right now for the Rangers. So I don't know, man. They've made a flurry of moves. So what are your thoughts of the Rangers?
Well, I mean, undoubtedly, they're 100 times better than they were last year. But unless Simeon or Seager can pitch or apparently play left field, they're still a long ways away. If Billy McKinney is your starting left fielder, not cool, man. I like Billy McKinney. He came up in the Yankee organization, but he's like a fifth outfielder. That won't go well.
Well, he probably won't end up being there, but according to Fangraphs right now, he's their left fielder, and it makes sense because they don't really have anybody else out there right now. There's a couple guys battling for that spot, but McKinney get a full-time gig. He can make a little noise there. It won't be great, but he's got some skill and some talent. I've kept an eye on him in his career, and he should be a good player and maybe a fourth outfielder, I would guess, by the time it's all said and done, to kind of fill in there for the Rangers. So, wow, man. I just couldn't keep up with everything today. Driving home, I was like, what is this? And here comes Corey Seager now, and now you got Seager at short for sure, Simeon at second. You go Kiner Falefa back to third, David? Is that what they're going to do?
Yeah, he was a Gold Glover at third. You just stick him right back over there. Your infield defense should be, pretty good. Seager's not a great shortstop, but he's, pretty good. You'll have a Gold Glover at third. You have a Gold Glover at second. I guess Nate Lowe is playing first still, as far as I know. So they need to make a couple more moves, though.
So speaking of Gold Gloves, you segued right into what we were going to talk about next. Paul Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman, second of the 5 Cardinals to win the Gold Glove Award, which is a record. Arenado's always a shoe-in at third. 9 in a row for Nolan Arenado. My dad stands behind Brooks Robinson as the best third baseman of all time. When you look at his numbers, he's got 16 Gold Gloves, which is second all time to only Greg Maddux, who has 18. That's kind of surprising. But Brandon Crawford at short, Tyler O'Neill in left field. Harrison Bader, another Cardinal, gets center field. Adam Duvall gets right. Jacob Stallings, who just got traded to the Marlins as well. He is a catcher who won the Gold Glove, and Max Fried of the Braves wins the pitcher. So, David, one thing you got to explain to me. How in the world did the Cardinals get 5? And how does a guy in left field named Tyler O'Neill with 9 errors that led all of the left fielders in errors get a Gold Glove?
I don't know, but it really felt good to hear you have to rattle off the Cardinals, practically their starting lineup. So, if nothing else, that really felt good. I guess it does make a little bit of sense, DJ, only because, if you look at the Cardinals, they were a playoff team that came out of nowhere. And maybe it was pitching and defense in the end that got them there, because I never could figure it out. So I don't know. I didn't watch enough Cardinals to really have an opinion, but like I said, it felt really good hearing you say that.
You're an idiot. So the American League, Yuli Gurriel gets first base. Also won the batting title, so what a year for him. He's going to be 38 next year, which is crazy to think. Marcus Semien gets second. Matt Chapman at third, no doubt. He's a stud at the hot corner. Carlos Correa gets short. Me and you talked about this last podcast, David, how defensive stalwart he is. Somebody's going to get a really good shortstop there. $300 million is what he's rumored to be getting, which is crazy. Andrew Benintendi gets left field, continuing the royal streak of left fielders winning the Gold Glove. Alex Gordon all those years. So Benintendi continues at Royals left field's Gold Gloves. Michael A. Taylor of the Royals gets center field. So don't hit to the left side in Kansas City, man. 2 Gold Glovers out there. Joey Gallo gets right field for the Yankees, man. Sean Murphy's the catcher. Dallas Keuchel, the White Sox, is the pitcher. This one was out there, everybody was feeling bad for the White Sox, so they gave him 1 Gold Glove just to kind of keep the White Sox fans happy since they once again choked in the playoffs. So, David, what was your thoughts about Joey Gallo, his defense, since you got to see him a little bit more this year? Got to see him play a lot with the Yankees, so talk us through his defense a little bit.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That really surprised me, the Gold Glove. Of course, we only had him for a couple months or maybe a month, and maybe my view of him was jaded by how terrible he was with the bat. But when we got him, they said that he could play center field, but I don't think I saw enough of him to really have an opinion as far as the Gold Glove goes.
So, David, once again, you were wrong on the AL MVP.
Nope.
You thought
I was
Vladdy
right.
Jr. was going to win over Shohei Ohtani. Robert,
Nope.
I get dumber every week doing this podcast. I don't understand it.
There's no doubt you've gotten dumber.
A guy who dominates with 46 bombs and 100 ribbies and 103 runs and is 9-2 on the mound with a 3.18 ERA, 156 Ks, blows away anything Vladdy Jr. did. And it was a unanimous pick, Robert, so I'm not the only stupid one who picked Shohei Ohtani. David's got this love affair with Vladdy Jr. He thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I can't believe you picked him for MVP. What were your thoughts on that, David?
Man, look, Vladdy carried his team, a playoff contender, all year. He won most categories as far as batting average and RBI, had more RBIs, more home runs. Yeah, I mean, Shohei Ohtani is awesome. Cool to watch. His team finished in the same position it did the year before, which was either last or next to last. I don't even remember. Next to last, I guess. So, yeah, I definitely think it should count for something whether your team wins or not.
National League MVP is Bryce Harper, his second MVP award, 35 homers, 309 average, 84 ribbies, 101 runs scored, a 429 on base percentage. He won it by more than I thought he would, David. He definitely deserved it. Very emotional, really cool to see him win that award. AL Cy Young was Robbie Ray, the New Mariner, 13-7, 2.84 ERA, 248 Ks, and 193 innings pitched. The NL Cy Young was a little bit shocking to me. I was a little surprised by that award going not to Max Scherzer, who I thought deserved it, David. And you were big on the Phillies guy, Zach Wheeler. So what were your thoughts when Corbin Burns won that?
Yeah, I was shocked. Zach Wheeler, I went through my case for him earlier. Most innings, most strikeouts. That should mean something. I'm sorry. If they're leaving you out there for innings, that should mean something. So I was kind of shocked that Corbin Burns won, and I would have took Wheeler for sure.
The AL Rookie of the Year was Randy Arozarena. He had 20 bombs, 145 hits, playoff stud in 2020. The NL Rookie of the Year award was won by the Cincinnati Reds as well. Jonathan India, first position player since our boy Chris Sabo, David, to win the award, which was really cool. AL Manager of the Year, Kevin Cash wins it back-to-back, 100 wins in 2021. NL Manager of the Year, your boy Gabe Kapler, David's new buddy, who he totally tipped the cap to last week. He took a lot of that Aroid juice back in the day when he was a player, man. And I got Alex Rodriguez into the show, David. So there's our A-Rod reference. so that rounds out all your winners for the big awards, man. Nothing super surprising on any of that. I thought Corbin Burns was the one that maybe was the most surprising to me. So we'll convert here to I want to go one of the deaths that happened out of three. We'll go to the other ones next week. But Julio Lugo, David, passed away of a heart attack at 45 years old. He was a shortstop and second baseman from 2000 to 2011. Played 12 seasons with the Astros, the Rays for 4 years, Boston for 3 years, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Orioles, and the Cardinals for 1 year. A member of the 2007 Red Sox World Series championship team as the everyday shortstop for them. He hit .385 in that World Series to help them win the title over the Rockies. In 2004 with the Rays, he had 75 RBI and 160 hits, 83 runs scored. He was a 43rd round pick and made it to a 12-year career in the majors. So my big question to you, David, is would you rather have a career like Julio Lugo where you win a World Series with a team and you're the starting shortstop, or Omar Vizquel where you kind of add stats and you never win the big thing?
And that's a really tough question because Omar Vizquel was one of the greatest fielding shortstops ever. So, I don't know how to really answer that, to be honest with you, but That was shocking news when Lugo passed away. Whenever you see somebody die young like that, to be honest with you, DJ, we're about the same age, not far from it. That's just kind of a kick to the gut right there. So I hated to hear that.
No doubt, man. Lugo, I remember him as an Astro more than anything for some reason. I don't know why that is, since he was a shortstop on that 2007 team. I don't remember that as much, to be honest with you. I do remember him playing with the Astros more than anything. Very sad, man, a heart attack. And you would think somebody who's a professional athlete can have a heart attack. That scares you even more, man, because I'm pretty sure that all three of us seem to think that we're in good shape. We do a lot of exercise, all that kind of stuff. But, man, it just goes to show you never take life for granted. Rest in peace, Julio Lugo. A tough loss to the baseball world. So moving on, we got a few rumors we want to get to before we get to you, Robert. A couple things here. So Freddie Freeman, David, what are you hearing?
I mean, it's got to be back to the Braves, right? I've not heard any other team connected to him, only in my dreams when the Yankees get him. But I've not heard any other team connected to Freeman. It's got to be back to the Braves.
The one thing that I heard today, since the Dodgers lost Corey Seager, you shift Max Muncy to second base and you bring in Freddie Freeman to replace Corey Seager. So that's kind of a rumor flying around right now. We'll see.
The California guy.
Yep, the Dodgers have joined the mix on Freddie Freeman. So I think it's Yankees, Braves, Dodgers. Corey Seager was on our list to talk about. He is no longer there, so we move on from him and go to Javi Baez. What are you hearing on Baez, David?
I heard a rumor today of Baez to the Tigers, which I thought was interesting. I'm still fully expecting the Tigers to go hard after Correa, but that's really the only team I've heard him connected to so far is the Tigers.
The Red Sox, I've heard a little Mariners. You hear the Cubs rumors that he's going to come back there. The Mets still are in on him. They want him back. I don't know how true it is that the Mets want him back. What are your thoughts? Do you seriously think that the Mets are in on him, David, or you think that's just kind of a no?
No, I believe that until they just signed Escobar.
Okay.
So you got Escobar now. You got Jeff McNeil. Again, J.D. Davis. Where would you play him? You know what I mean? Like, you can't play all those guys, so I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. I 100% agree with you. The Mets are obviously one of those franchises that I think is not very good. So, Trevor Story, what are you hearing on him?
I heard obviously the Rangers, the Yankees. I've heard that. I'm not pulling for that at all. But those are the two places I've heard him connected to.
I've heard a little connection to the Angels in a little blog I read. But Trevor Story's kind of been quiet. I read today where the Rockies could be back in on getting him, which is really weird to think because there's been so many different things go wrong with the Rockies. You think I thought he was mad at the deadline for not getting traded, for them holding on to him. So it'd be weird for him to actually go back and play for the Rockies. So that would be an interesting one to see. And some of these guys could fall tomorrow. You never know. Carlos Correa, what are you hearing on him?
Again, the Tigers, to a lesser extent, the Yankees. I think there's a love-hate relationship there. And then I was going to say this earlier. Don't be surprised if he ends up back with the Astros. They're going to have a little money to spend, I think. It's a huge hole that they got to fill, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up back there.
I agree. How about Nick Castellanos?
I've not heard anything on Castellanos other than that he wanted an 8-year deal. I saw that today, which I think is nuts. But I've not really heard any rumors for him. How about you?
Giants are rumored to be in on him. The Marlins to go with Avisail Garcia, and the Reds have not ruled him out. So we'll see. Castellanos is he's definitely a really good player and somebody that could make a big splash for a new team. So Roberts, here we go, buddy. So first off, congratulations. I know you are not a huge MLB fan, but talk a little bit to start with here about the Atlanta Braves, how you became a fan. I know your dad was an Oakland A's fan, so talk to me how that happened where you were a Braves fan. I know you grew up in the South, so most people that live down there are Braves fans, but talk about the fandom of the Braves when you were growing up, and then talk about this season a little bit, man, and how it felt for the Braves to win it all.
Yeah, but everybody down here, I guess, you're almost a Braves fan by default if you're from the South, because for years it was the only team in the South. I remember growing up, we lived in Atlanta. That was back when Del Murphy was all the Braves had, and you could go to Braves games. There wasn't but a few thousand people in the stands. You pay for cheap seats and wind up sitting behind home plate if you wanted to. You could meander down in the middle innings, and nobody said anything. So it was, it was kind of neat to watch them. I remember in high school, they won it, and then so many years later, I have some friends at work, and they are huge Braves fans. And the season started off, they couldn't get over 500. It was just like they'd get to 500 and lose one, lose two, and then they'd win two, and then lose two or three. And just like after last year, it's like, man, this team's never going to get over the hump. And then they made a few moves, signed a few guys. I know there was a little bit of talk about that after the World Series, that they bought a championship, but who doesn't these days? And so it was a big deal down here. Everybody was pulling. It was kind of odd to have everybody pulling for the same team. I mean, I'm down here in college football country, and every tribe has their team, and but when it came to the Braves, it seemed like everybody was on the same page. So that was interesting. That was fun. But yeah, Dad was an A's fan. He liked the A's for a while, but I think he's always been a Braves fan too. I mean, like I say, it was the Southern team for a while. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting to keep up with it this year. I know I sat there, and once the playoffs started, I was watching everything just like everybody else. And I'd kept up with them through the year, because I was just like, man, after last year, you think this team would be better, but they finally got it going, and at the right time. It's all about thinking at the right time. So it was fun. It was
Robert,
fun.
talk about who your favorite players were growing up. Who are some of the guys that you loved in the MLB?
Well, when we lived in Atlanta, I liked Del Murphy. As I got on into actually playing, I remember, late '80s, early '90s, you had Jose Canseco, and you had Mark McGuire, and nobody knew they were on roids then, and so I like those guys. Ozzy Smith was still playing. I like to watch him. Play shortstop for the Cardinals. You'd see those highlights, and those were fun. Dad was always having me watch Tony Gwynn stuff and hitting, and we were always watching Tony Gwynn videos, and he's like, man, you got to learn to hit like this. Of course, I never did. If I did, I'd be playing ball right now. But that, guys like that. I had a cousin who played in the majors, Jeff Branson. He never won a World Series. He played in the World Series with the Indians. So those were kind of my guys. I liked a lot of the old Braves, David Justice, and of course, Smoltz and Maddox, and those pitching rotations with Avery and all that they had in the '90s. Those were fun teams to watch. I remember watching the game when Sid Ring comes sliding into home and they win it, and I remember everybody kind of jumping around. That was a fun memory.
No doubt.
So talk about Jeff Branson a little bit, Robert. How are you related to him? And I know he played for the Reds for all those years too. So talk about that for a second.
He played. Jeff played at what used to be Livingston University. It's West Alabama now, and set all kind of records in the Gulf South Conference. And he played on the '88 Olympic team that won the gold medal. I remember when him and my aunt and uncle all went out to Correa. That was where the Olympics were that year. And I got to hold his gold medal when he got back. We were all down there in South Alabama. He pulled that thing out, and that was really neat. But yeah, he played with the Reds, and He played with the Indians. Played in the World Series with the Indians. He was with the Padres for a little bit, and he's the minor league hitting coordinator for the Tigers right now.
Wow.
He was the hitting coach for the Pirates for years. We would go down to Atlanta when the Pirates would come into town, just to go see Jeff. We'd talk to him for games and stuff like that. Him and Dad are first cousins, so that makes us second cousins. So
if you get to talk to him, tell him there's this 2 guys that have this podcast. That we'll make him famous if he wants to come on sometime.
All right, he's got some stories. I remember he told us his first time he got paid when he was with the Reds. I think it was Barry Larkin. Just kind of turned around. They got their checks, and he said, "Hey, you want me to cash that for you right now?" He reached in his pocket. He said, "Yeah." So you're just like, wow.
That's awesome.
His rookie year, but yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, man, I'm dead serious about that. We would love to have him on the show. We eat that kind of stuff up, no doubt. So if you can make that work for us, that'd be awesome. And David, he was on the '97 Indians team, and me and David have talked at length, Robert, about how that '97 team might be one of the best teams that did not win a World Series. Man, they were absolutely loaded on that team. It fell short to the Marlins that year, who is the only team in the '90s that does not have a Hall of Famer on it. Fun fact for you, the '97 Marlins, and they destroyed the '97 Indians.
I remember, us all watching that series, and we just knew they was going to win it, going in, and then they just didn't.
Yep.
And what do you do? I mean, sometimes it just don't happen. So that was always cool, because every now and then we'd catch Jeff on TV, and so and he comes from Silas, Alabama is a 4-way stop, and with a blinking caution light, and but that's where he was from. Man, he was good.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome. I'd forgotten about that.
Me too. I totally forgot about that. That's really cool, Robert. So congratulations, man, on the Braves winning it all. I know it's been like you said, me and David were talking about this too. You guys didn't win a World Series for as long as we've known you. It's been since '95, so it's the first time they've won one since we've all known each other. And also, we were all in high school when that happened, so it's been a long time, man. And congratulations on that for sure. I know that's really cool for you and your family on that one. So, Robert, go ahead and start with high school ball, and let's go ahead and talk about your high school career here for a few minutes.
Well, I played high school ball at Westbrook Christian down in Gadsden, and I had been homeschooled up until the 9th grade. So my 9th grade year, Dad got the job coaching down at Westbrook, so we went down there, and my 9th grade year, I played on the JV team, and I sat the bench on varsity. I was a pinch runner, courtesy runner, things like that. I didn't start until my sophomore year, and so I played center field. I was a backup catcher. I would catch, the second half of a doubleheader or something like that, and I did that for 3 years. Josh Hill was on those teams. We played together, and y'all remember Josh, and it was good times. We had good teams. We never won a state championship or anything like that, but we had some really good teams. Had some good players on those teams. Baseball was really good in Alabama. I enjoyed it, and but yeah, I mean it was a lot of fun. Had a good time.
That's awesome. So talk for a minute about Josh Hill, playing with him, and how you guys ended up playing college ball together, obviously too. So talk us through, where Josh played when you guys were in high school and where you were playing most of the time. Go ahead and go in there.
I was in center field. Josh played some second base, but he got to where he was playing a lot of first base for us. Josh was a really good hitter, and he was always better than I was. And he could, whenever he'd get a hold of one, he could kill it, and especially, batting left-handed. And So he went to Sneed State Community College for a couple of years when I came on up to Temple. And then Dad got a hold of him somehow, or he got a hold of Dad. And, after Dad got the job up there, because Dad wasn't the coach our first year. It was Coach T and Skinny. And anyway, they got a hold of each other, and Dad signed him and brought him on up. And I was glad when he did, because Josh was a friend from high school, and that was pretty cool to get to play with him some more. So he is a house parent now at the Baptist Children's Home down in Alabama. So we saw him here a little while back. They came through Chattanooga, and he's still doing well, still a great guy. They're doing good work down there.
Absolutely. You got to be a special person to be able to do something like that. So I commend it big time on that.
You sure do. Whew. Some of that's tough situations, they get put into, some of them kids, and he seems to do very well with it. So
Robert, so talk us through, you're coming up to your senior year, you're about to graduate. How in the world did you end up at Tennessee Temple?
Well, my senior year, Dad was done at Westbrook, and he had actually put in up at Temple, and they hired him as the chairman of I hired him into the business department. He wasn't the chairman yet. And so we all just came along with him. It was a good fit for college. And I went out for the baseball team and made it. So, that was great. I didn't know I had looked it up. I'd read about it all summer, what kind of baseball program Temple had, things like that. So I was really excited when I tried out and made it. And then it was, it was kind of, it was the first year I had not played for Dad ever. He had been we had just kind of started, he had always coached me in little league and high school. So that first year was kind of odd, kind of different to not have him as a coach. And, but it was fun. I met you that year, DJ, and then Swor came along the next year. And we it was good times. We had a lot of adventures with the coaching staff. Want to be careful how I say things. That first year, Coach T was great. I love Coach T. He was I learned a lot from him, and over the years I've learned a lot from him. We still talk. Him and Dad go to church together at Calvary Baptist over in Red Bank. So I learned a lot, like I say, still have, learn a lot. We take our kids to his basketball camp, now. So it was, like I say, then, the next year, Dad, when Coach T moved solely into basketball, they gave Dad the job. They knew his baseball background. So after that, it was just like old times, we had a cast of characters, had some good ball players. I was telling Luke about Steve Shelton today. We were driving home. We were talking about baseball, and he was asking me about college. I said, well, I sat behind the guy for 2 years, and I started for 2 years. I said, I sat behind Steve Shelton, who, gosh, it just wasn't fair. He could stand it, at the fence and throw a line shot all the way home. I said, he had the best arm I think I've ever seen in person. And I said, he was good. But he was really kind to me and taught me a lot. So I was really grateful for that. But, all them guys too, a lot of them older guys, Brian K. Wood, Casey Caldwell, they didn't, they just kind of took everybody in and didn't, act like they were better than everybody else. So I was really thankful for that.
Yeah. Steve had an absolute hose, man. I thought the same thing when we first got there. The first outfield practice he took, it was just like, gosh, man, he's throwing those ropes. Too good about.
And he even gave the wipe off sign, and but he just figured I would go ahead and go with it since he had told me to do it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had a few run-ins like that where I was like, well, that's not really quite how you're supposed to do that. But anyway, I should have just done what I was told and been done with it.
You ready, DJ? I don't know what's going on down there, up there.
Yeah, I got a new computer and I have no idea what's happening. But yeah, let's keep rolling. Robert, I'm sorry, man. So talk about your dad obviously became our head coach there. Our sophomore year, David's freshman year. So you talked about how cool it was to play for him. So you were behind Shelton for 2 years and then you were a starter for 2 years. So talk about those last 2 years at Temple playing ball.
It was fun. I loved every minute of it. Yeah, I do. I wish we could have gone farther in the postseason than we did those couple of years, but I think we all had a good time. We got to play a lot of ball, got to play a lot of teams at at a level we never thought we'd get to play. Were you on the team, DJ? Was that the first year we got to go play Tennessee, our sophomore years?
Yes, I was on the team.
Sophomore.
Sophomore year.
I thought so. That was fun. That was a highlight. We got to go play UT and, go up there and, experience all that. So yeah, I mean, I really love the guys I got to meet, got to play with. It was a blast. Road trips were great. They were always interesting. Some places we went, but yeah, we, I don't know. It was kind of odd at Temple, the baseball team. We seemed to be kind of I don't know. Did y'all ever get the feeling that we were kind of the redheaded stepchild?
Oh, yes. There's no doubt that was the case. We were not revenue producing, so there wasn't much thought for the baseball team.
I mean, we had some adventures with some of those vans we had to ride in, and oh man, I remember the time, we blew that engine on the on ramp, going up, we hadn't even got out of Chattanooga and we blew an engine. And we were somewhere up in Kentucky one time when the drive shaft fell out of the bottom of the
we talked about that.
The van. We had to sit there on the side of the road till they sent, they wouldn't even, they had to send another van. That was an experience. But
everybody was mad too. The best part of road trips was watching DJ sing Song of the South from Alabama. That always made me feel good inside.
That's the worst song ever created in human history.
Oh, I used to crack me up when DJ would order a pop or a soda. And then those poor Southern girls that we went to every CC's imaginable. We were just like, what does he want? Yeah, he wants a Coke. Just give him a Coke.
That's awesome.
Oh man. Well, I mean, what are some of y'all's favorite memories?
The Hitchhikers got to be the top.
I have always thought about that one. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest baseball moments that I can remember on those trips was the Hitchhiker. Also, the first year when we went to Panama City for spring break, that was an eye-opener for a guy from, rural West Virginia. Didn't know stuff like that actually existed, so that was interesting.
That was an eye-opener from a guy from Alabama.
I got to ride in the van with your dad and watch girls stopped in traffic flashing right next to his window. It was hilarious to say the least. So those are probably two of my favorite memories. Removing the rainbow from the TTU van was high up there. I don't know. I could go on forever.
Were you on the trip were you on the trip when Dad put the keys in the door and then we all went
Yes.
into the keys?
We looked and looked and looked for those keys, and they were in the door. Yep, I do remember that.
And of all people, Steve Shelton found them and
Yep.
hanging in the door.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Well, Robert, before we wrap up tonight, I've got something for you here. Actually, from your dad. So this is something I kind of wanted to give you here. I told him you were coming on the show, and he kind of wrote something here for you that he wanted to kind of talk about as far as your career goes and everything. So I figured you'd consider this a treat. He says, well, DJ, I could write a book about mine and Robert's time together on the ball field. I guess it would be appropriate to say he literally grew up on the grass. I love the opportunity to coach each and every one of my guys at Temple who have played for me over the years, but the greatest one was him. Looking back, I made many mistakes in how I played and coached him. He probably would have been a super player without his dad calling the shots, but cherish all those times. I really did. You guys may not know this, but he was a pretty good football player. His senior year, he helped lead our team to state finals, led the Class 1A in interceptions with 8, and returned 4 for touchdown, including 2 in the playoffs. He always wanted to pitch, but he was always the fastest runner on the team, so I started using him in the outfield. I had to travel with a job to El Paso one summer, and his mom and sisters drove out with them as well. And I told him if he would stay and fly with me, I would let him pitch. He did. He had never flown before, so he did it, and we wound up beating the team, I think, 34-3. So he had good support behind him that night.
I couldn't pitch a lick.
He said, I always wanted him to catch like I did, but realized that my old knees hurt, and he was blessed with the good old speed. And he ended up playing a lot of outfield for me. He did catch some. So there's a little words from your dad there. He wanted to kind of pop in for you there. So I'm sure, man, that had to be really cool to do nothing but pretty much play for your dad your entire life. Your dad is an awesome coach, and let me say this too: your entire family, yourself included. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys have no idea what you've done for us. I really don't think you guys understand the extent of a lot of us. You know, we came from different backgrounds and all that, and your dad took us under his wing like we were one of his sons and did so much for us. Looking back on it, you understand even more and more what he did for us. And your entire family really took us under their wings. You guys fed us all the time. You did so much for us. I personally can't thank you guys enough for all that. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Robert. You're awesome family, man. You guys are about as good as it gets as far as human beings. So do nothing but respect for all your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that.
Well, guys, I appreciate that. I mean, that was all Dad. I mean, I was just one of the guys and playing, just with everybody else. But Dad has always had a way with working with guys and making them feel at ease. Even now, he does my pitching for my high school team, and I just send him over there, and he has a way of working with guys one-on-one, and they always come back a little bit better. So he's just good at that. That's just who he is. So
That's awesome.
But I do appreciate that. Him writing that up. I don't think I was quite as good as what he makes me out to be, but I like to know I wasn't. But I do appreciate that. That was good stuff.
No doubt, man, for sure. Robert, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We will not make you a stranger, man. So we will definitely have you back on and get that second cousin of yours to get on the show with us, man. We would eat that alive. And David, it's been a pleasure as always.
Put in a word.
Yeah, please do, man. We would love that. We would absolutely love it. So, David, it's been a pleasure as always, man. Lindsay's got her hands full trying to piece this podcast together. So we'll see as fast as she can get it together. This has been a mess. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties. You guys hanging in there with me all night. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully this turns out fine. I think it should be all right. So it's been a crazy week as far as MLB goes, and it's going to get crazy tomorrow. So next week, David, we're going to have Mitch Norman on. Mitch is going to come back and join the show next week. Another Braves guy. We're kind of on our little roll here with the Braves guys since they won the World Series. We kind of want to get these guys' perspective on all that and everything too. And he's excited to come on. We will also begin talking Hall of Fame since that'll be announced the first of the month of January. We'll go through 8 guys per podcast, and we will give our yeses and nos on 8 guys of the 30 guys on the ballot every week till we finish that. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up, and please like our channel, subscribe to us, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.